The polished executive never saw it coming, neither the crisis that would sink her empire, nor the quiet man behind the wheel who would save it all. Rebecca Chen had perfected the art of looking through people. 20 years climbing corporate ladders had taught her that much. As CEO of Titan Tech Solutions, she'd built a reputation on razor-sharp instincts and zero tolerance for mediocrity. The town car that picked her up each morning was simply another backdrop to her empire, and the man driving it, barely a footnote in her carefully curated world. Marcus Rivera had been her driver for 8 months, and Rebecca couldn't have picked him out of a lineup. She knew nothing about the weathered hands that gripped the steering wheel, the tired eyes that watched the road with quiet diligence, or the little girl whose picture hung from his rearview mirror. To Rebecca, he was just part of the machinery that kept her life running smoothly. "You're 3 minutes late," she snapped that Tuesday morning, sliding into the backseat without looking up from her phone. The Seoul negotiations were imploding, and her company's biggest deal, a $1.2 billion merger with a South Korean tech conglomerate, hung by a thread. "Traffic on 5th Avenue, ma'am. There was an accident. I don't pay for excuses. I pay for punctuality." Her fingers flew across her screen, firing off another terse email to her legal team. The Koreans were getting cold feet, the Chinese investors were threatening to pull out, and the German manufacturers wanted to renegotiate terms. 3 continents, 3 disasters, and only 48 hours to salvage everything. Marcus said nothing, just merged smoothly into traffic. Rebecca caught a glimpse of his profile in the rearview mirror, the premature gray at his temples, the deep lines around his eyes. Probably pushing 50, she thought dismissively. No ambition, no drive. Just another person who'd settled for driving other people's dreams around. "Step on it," she ordered. "And try not to make this a habit. There are plenty of drivers who'd kill for this job." "Yes, ma'am." His voice was soft, carefully neutral. What Rebecca didn't hear was the slight catch in it, or know that Marcus had been up since 4 that morning helping his 9-year-old daughter, Sophia, prepare for her school presentation. Sophia, who was still learning to navigate the world without her mother, taken by cancer 2 years ago. Sophia, who was the reason Marcus worked 3 jobs and chose driving over more lucrative opportunities that would take him away from her. The office tower loomed ahead, all steel and glass and power. Rebecca gathered her things, already mentally in her next meeting. "Tomorrow, be early." "Not on time." "Early." "Of course, ma'am." She slammed the door without another word. The next 36 hours became a blur of catastrophe. The Seoul office called at midnight, their lead negotiator had quit. The Chinese investors sent a scathing letter at dawn. The German partners demanded a video conference that turned into a shouting match, conducted through exhausted translators who kept mixing up technical terms. Rebecca's fluent English and passable Mandarin weren't enough. The deal was dying, and her board was preparing to remove her. "We need someone who speaks Korean, German, and Mandarin fluently," her COO said desperately during an emergency meeting. "Someone who understands technical specifications and legal terminology. We need them now, or we lose everything." They'd burned through every translator in the city. The language services were tapped out. Time zones were working against them, and the final negotiation call was scheduled for 5 o'clock that afternoon. Miss this window, and 3 continents full of investors would walk away, taking Rebecca's career with them. At 4:30, Rebecca stood in the executive conference room, watching her empire crumble. Her assistant had tried 17 agencies. Nothing. No one. "Ma'am, your car is here for the ride home," someone said quietly. Home. As if she had anything to go home to accept failure and humiliation. Rebecca grabbed her briefcase with shaking hands, her legendary composure finally cracking. In the lobby, Marcus stood by the town car, as invisible and unimportant as always. She collapsed into the backseat, and for the first time in 20 years, Rebecca Chen cried. "Are you all right, ma'am?" Marcus's voice was gentle, concerned. "It doesn't matter." Her voice broke. "Nothing matters. I've lost everything. I'm sorry to hear that." And then, because desperation breaks down walls that pride builds, Rebecca found herself talking. Telling this stranger behind the wheel about the merger, the languages, the impossible situation. Words poured out of her, fear and frustration and the terrible understanding that she'd built an empire but forgotten how to ask for help. Marcus listened without interrupting. When she finally fell silent, he spoke quietly. What languages do you need? Korean, German, and Mandarin. Along with English. Plus technical terminology in all four. Legal concepts. Cultural nuances. It's impossible. She laughed bitterly. We'd need a miracle. There was a long pause. Then, I speak those languages, ma'am. Rebecca's head snapped up. What? Korean, German, Mandarin, and English. Also Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, French, and Japanese. His eyes met hers in the rearview mirror, and for the first time, she actually saw him. 9 languages total. The world seemed to tilt. You're joking. No, ma'am. He pulled the car over, turned to face her. My mother was a translator for the UN. My father was a linguistics professor. I grew up in diplomat housing, studied at international schools. I have master's degrees in linguistics and international law from Columbia. Rebecca's mouth opened, then closed. Then why are you driving a car? Something shifted in Marcus's expression, pain, but also fierce pride. Because 2 years ago, my wife died. Cancer. Left me with a 9-year-old daughter who needed her father home for dinner, home for homework, home when she woke up from nightmares. The consulting firms wanted 80-hour weeks and constant travel. Law firms were worse. So I chose the job that let me be the parent Sophia needed. He paused. I chose to be there for someone who couldn't advocate for herself. Shame hit Rebecca like a physical blow. 8 months of dismissal, of contempt, of treating this man like furniture. 8 months of never asking, never seeing, never caring. Could you? Her voice came out as a whisper. Could you help us? Marcus checked his watch. The call is at 5. Yes. I need to pick Sophia up from her after-school program by 6:30. Done. I'll have a car ready. And Marcus, she met his eyes. I'll pay you what you're worth. Not driver wages. Consultant rates. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for how I've treated you. He nodded slowly. Let's save your deal first. The next hour was a masterclass in brilliance. Marcus sat at the head of Rebecca's conference table, moving seamlessly between languages like a conductor leading an orchestra. He caught the nuance in the Korean team's concerns that 3 previous translators had missed, a cultural reference about honor and partnership that, once properly addressed, melted their resistance. He found the exact German technical term that had been mistranslated, turning a deal-breaking specification error into a simple clarification. He negotiated with the Chinese investors in Mandarin so flawless that they laughed with delight, then praised Rebecca for finally showing them proper respect. By 5:45, the deal was saved. By 6, they were celebrating. By 6:15, Rebecca was signing Marcus's consulting contract while her assistant arranged his ride home. Thank you, she said, and meant it with every fiber of her being. Marcus smiled, a real smile this time. Thank you for the opportunity. And Ms. Chen, maybe next time, you'll ask your driver how his day is going. As he left, Rebecca watched through the window as he climbed into the waiting car, probably already thinking about Sophia's homework and what he'd make for dinner. A single father who'd sacrificed prestige for presence, who'd chosen love over luxury, who'd been invisible because society had trained successful people like her not to see service workers as fully human. She'd learned the most valuable lesson of her career from the man she'd mocked. Everyone has a story, everyone has worth, and sometimes the people we overlook are exactly the ones who can save us. The next morning, Marcus arrived 3 minutes early. Rebecca was waiting by the car. Good morning, Marcus, she said warmly. How's Sophia doing with that school presentation? His eyes widened, then crinkled with genuine surprise and pleasure. She got an A, actually. Thank you for asking. Good, Rebecca said, climbing into the backseat. But this time, she didn't bury herself in her phone. Tell me more about her. I'd like to hear. And as they drove through the morning traffic, 2 people who'd existed in separate worlds finally began to see each other as they truly were, both human, both worthy, both deserving of kindness and respect. The $1.2 billion deal made headlines. But the real story, the one that mattered, was much simpler, and far more profound. A powerful woman had learned to look up from her phone and see the humanity in front of her, and a devoted father had proven that success isn't measured by titles, but by the love we give and the lives we touch.